Good afternoon, everybody. This is our Ottawa City Commission meeting for Wednesday, January 31st, 2024. Let's have the roll call, please.
Mayor Skidmore,
Present?
Mayor Pro Tem Allen,
Present.
Commissioner Kaler,
Present.
Commissioner Clayton,
Present.
and Commissioner Crowley.
Present.
We are all here, so welcome everybody here watching live and watching online as well. So we want to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by our invocation. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Father in heaven, we give you thanks for this special meeting. We just thank you for this beautiful day as well. We've had some rough days here in the past, but we've gotten through those, and we thank you for the sunshine that we're experiencing today. Lord, with that in mind, we give you thanks again for the hard city workers bringing back our electricity. It took a while, we know, for some, but Lord, we got through that storm, and there'll be others in the future. We just thank you for their dedication and service to this community, and thank you for the patience of all of our citizens. And now, Lord, as we look into the agenda today, we've got a lot of things to cover. We just ask you to give us all individual wisdom and guidance from you that only you can provide. We look forward to seeing what you have for us each and every day as we commit ourselves and yield to you. We give you thanks for this time now. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
All right. How about any public comments today?
We have none registered.
None registered. We'll go on to the next item, 7. We've got appointments, proclamations, recognitions, and nominations, and public hearings. So we'll start off with, we've got a proclamation recognizing January as Human Trafficking Awareness Month. I think I read the wrong line, but I'll continue on. Human Trafficking Awareness Month focuses attention on victims of human trafficking, a form of modern-day slavery, and its far-reaching effects. Zoe Barlow and Delano Thomas, Willow Domestic Violence Center, will accept this proclamation, and it will be read by our Mayor Pro Tem Allen.
The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas human trafficking, a modern form of slavery, is one of the largest and fastest growing criminal industries in the world. It is based on recruiting, harboring, and transporting people for the purpose of exploitation. And whereas millions of men, women, and children around the globe, including here in Ottawa, Kansas, are subject to modern-day slavery, the cruel, inhumane practice of human trafficking. And whereas sex trafficking and labor trafficking occur in Kansas, and both adults and children of any gender, socioeconomic status, age, race, sexual orientation, or geographic location can become victimized. And whereas human trafficking includes sexual, verbal, emotional, and physical abuse and exploitation, and all forms of abuse carry long-term, complex trauma implications. And whereas Kansas human trafficking laws define commercial exploitation of children, which does not require a showing of force, fraud, threat, or coercion, and references the existing statutory definition of human trafficking and aggravated human trafficking. And whereas the effects of human trafficking reach far beyond its victims and perpetrators, causing disruption in our schools, places of work, and neighborhoods. And now, therefore, the governing body of the City of Ottawa, Kansas, does hereby proclaim the month of January 2024 as Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and urges all citizens to speak out against sex and labor trafficking and exploitation, to support survivors of these heinous crimes, to encourage community leaders to hold offenders accountable, and to make preventable efforts a priority by hosting events, by creating policies at work, school, and home, and by supporting and participating in programs designed to reduce and eventually eliminate human trafficking as a societal problem. Signed this 31st day of January 2024 by our Mayor Skidmore.
Let me sign this real quick here. And who's here to accept it? Zoe and Delano, is that right? Right here, both of you? Let me come down here and hand this to you.
We can do it either way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Want to introduce me?
Yeah. My name is Delano Thomas. I am the Director of Community Services for the Willow Domestic Violence Center in Lawrence, Kansas. And I just want to thank the City of Ottawa and Franklin County for this generous proclamation. I really appreciate it. Willow appreciates this. We just can't say enough about Franklin County and Ottawa. I come from a small town myself, Salina, Kansas, and so I love the small town feeling, and we just appreciate everything that you do for us and all of the cooperation and just the partnerships that you give. I'd like to introduce our new HT and DB program coordinator, Zoe Barlow, and I will let Zoe talk about a little bit about HT.
Hi, I'm Zoe Barlow. I am the Human Trafficking and Domestic Violence Advocate at the Willow Domestic Violence Center. I've got a little bit to read about what we do. The Willow provides shelter, support, and service to survivors of domestic violence and human trafficking in Douglas, Franklin, and Jefferson counties. January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and the Willow has served survivors of human trafficking in Northeast Kansas since 2014. In addition to our regular service area, our human trafficking program serves an additional 9 counties in Northeast Kansas. Human trafficking is often sensationalized, and there's been a lot of misinformation about it in recent years. We see movies and images that make human trafficking look like it has to be someone being kidnapped and physically restrained. Although those scenarios do occur, the majority of what our clients experience are emotional and psychological restraints. People can be trafficked for sex, labor, or both. Traffickers will often groom someone by connecting with them, learning about their vulnerabilities, and exploiting those vulnerabilities. Traffickers take advantage of vulnerabilities such as lack of housing, lack of support systems, and food insecurity. We often hear about trafficking rings, but trafficking can happen between just 2 people. Traffickers can be anyone, even a friend, family member, or an intimate partner. In 2023, the Willow provided services to 50 survivors of human trafficking, with services ranging from safe shelter, court advocacy, and case management. We're honored to continue to serve clients and will continue to combat human trafficking through our services, community collaborations, and prevention work. We want to thank you again.
Well, I think we should be thanking you all for what you do. It's a shame that we have to have an organization like you, but at the same time, we're thankful you're there when you're needed through our community. We hate to admit sometimes we need something like this, but we live in a fallen world, and we still have people that do evil things. And so we just thank you for what you do. Keep up the good work. We'll see you next year, hopefully.
All right.
Thank you. Item, was it 7B?
Proclamation recognizing January 28th through February 3rd, 2024 as Catholic School Week.
This proclamation recognizes the contributions of Sacred Heart School, its students, and alumni to our community. And I will present the proclamation at a school assembly, actually tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, I believe. And so we've got Commissioner Crowley to be able to read that proclamation to us.
And the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Catholic School Week is an annual national celebration of the important role that Catholic elementary and secondary schools across the country play in providing an education that emphasizes not only academics, but also spiritual, moral, and social values. And whereas Sacred Heart Catholic School, Ottawa, Kansas, has been an academic institution in our community for more than 60 years. And whereas the mission of Sacred Heart School is to love God and one another, to help each other, and to learn for today and tomorrow. And whereas this year's theme is Catholic Schools, United in Faith and Community. Students and alumni of Sacred Heart Catholic School provide vital contributions to our community, and through a well-balanced curriculum, tools to master academic, social and technological skills, and the cultural appreciation needed for success and lifelong learning. Sacred Heart students are well prepared to contribute positively to church and society through leadership and service. Whereas the continuing support of this community and its citizens contributes to Sacred Heart's ability to achieve its missions. Now, therefore, the governing body of the City of Ottawa, Kansas does hereby proclaim January 28th through February 3rd, 2024 as Catholic Schools Week, and urges all citizens of Ottawa to recognize the many accomplishments and opportunities that this outstanding school provides to our community. Signed this 31st day of January 2024 by our Mayor, Mike Skidmore.
And someone here to accept this today, or if not, we'll just take it to school tomorrow. And Commissioner Kaler's got a few words to say on this one.
Yeah, and I didn't think we were going to have somebody today, but I did want to share a little bit of experience that I did have with Catholic Schools Week today. I was present at Sacred Heart when 12 of the 15 young adults who went through Sacred Heart are now seniors, and they came back to Sacred Heart today to talk to those students, and truly was a great experience to see them visiting with those young minds and sharing with them their experience at Sacred Heart in how Sacred Heart prepared them for future education, but really for being just a really good citizen in the future. And so I love the fact that they're talking about united in faith and community, and these 12 kiddos really, I mean, they sat there and they played kickball with the kids afterwards and had lunch with them after they visited about their Sacred Heart experience. And we should certainly be proud about the Catholic Schools Week and about the amazing young minds that are coming out of Sacred Heart School.
That's good, yeah. Well said. And I'm thinking your daughter was one of them?
My daughter was one of them today.
That's what I thought.
Yes.
You know, I think about it, students, older students especially, speak to the younger students. I think they'll listen to them probably more than the adults sometimes, and so it's a great example of that leadership by example, and I think that's great comments there. So
Well,
thank you for bringing
and our interim chief, fire chief's daughter was one too, so
Oh,
we'll
there
call
we go.
that out.
There we
So
go. Dylan?
Sean's daughter
Excellent.
was one of them too.
Fantastic. Way to do it. Good job. All right. We'll move on to item, where are we at here? Consent agenda, which would be the minutes from the January 17, 2024 meeting, as well as the agenda approval. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Commissioner? Motion? Second? Second. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We'll go on with that. Motion carries. Declaration at this time. I'd like to give the commissioners a chance to declare any conflict, communication they've had at this time that might influence their ability to consider today's issues impartially. And there's no unfinished business, I guess, so we'll go on to new business. Emergency communication, oh, I'm sorry, you go right ahead. I'm jumping you here. I should have come to the rehearsal. I keep forgetting to come to rehearsal. Okay.
You are fine. Item A, Emergency Communications Center year-end report by 911 Director Sarah Fakeley.
And Sarah's here. Good to see you, Sarah. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sorry, afternoon. I just wanted to present last year's call totals that we received in our 911 center. If you go to the next slide, please. We took 11,606 911 calls. We took 58,345 administrative calls, and we only received 142 text to 911 calls. This is breaks down the 24-hour period, and you can see the spike levels during the day between the hours of 8 and 8 when we have a higher call volume. If you want to go to the next one. In conjunction with that, we have to meet a certain standard with NENA for answering our 911 calls. 90% of the calls have to be answered within 15 seconds, and 95% of the calls have to be answered within 20 seconds. You'll see a spike in July when we had the outage for our storm, and even with that outage, we were still able to answer all of our calls to meet that standard for NENA. Also with that, with our 911 calls, if we need to transfer our 911 calls to our partner agency, which is on the South host for our phone system, they can automatically be transferred there. And then Lyon County can get back with us and let us know what kind of call we need to handle for them should our 911s not be answered. Okay, next slide. We had, between all the agencies that we serve, we had 52,143 CAD entries. This is any CAD entry that a dispatcher puts into our CAD system, whether it's us taking a call for service or an officer initiating a call for service. Between all of our agencies, law enforcement handled 84% of the calls, all of our fire departments handled 7% of the calls, and EMS also handled 7% of the calls. Next. Also, we're an ACE for our medical calls. So an ACE is an accredited center of excellence notated by the International Academy of Emergency Dispatch, and we have a certain amount of calls that we have to queue every year to make sure that we're in compliance with meeting that standard. We go anywhere from high compliant to non-compliant in our calls for service, or in the calls that we queue. And we have met that since we became accredited in 2020, and we have to recertify every 3 years. During this time, dispatchers have to maintain a 2-year period of continuing education, a minimum of 24 credits medically wise. We exceed that in doing medical calls. We also train for fire, law enforcement, mental health, hazmat, any other training that we can get with that. Next. And then we also tabulated our push-to-talks on the radio. This is the amount of time dispatchers spent on the radio. We have 4 consoles downstairs in dispatch. We have 1 upstairs in my office, which is a training computer, and it's not used all that often unless I am training somebody new. So the total of last year, we spent 350 hours on the radio talking to our field units. Next. And then our current staffing level, we have 10 dispatchers currently. That includes administrative positions. And we have 2 positions open right now that we are trying to get filled. Our hours run from 6 to 6 and 6 to 6. We have 2 on staff at all times. Any questions for me?
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Bethany?
Tell me about your staff turnover and about, tell me about your longest serving staff.
Currently, right now, downstairs in dispatch, Kelsey is our longest serving staff member, and she has been there 9 years. Our youngest one has been there, well, she just came back, and she has been here just a couple months. We've had turnover for people moving to go to other positions or just getting out of the field altogether.
Great report.
All right?
Could you, I'm not familiar with text to 911. Could you
Uh-huh.
do a 10-second elevator speech on, I guess, what that is? Can you just text 911?
Yes.
In any case?
Yes, you can text 911 for anything. We've had someone call in and say, or text us and say someone's in their house. So we've handled that kind of conversation. We've had people who've feeling anxious for some reason, and they want to text, but they don't want to talk. If they, that kind of stuff. It can be anything for text to 911. And it's handled just like it says. We text, we don't have any voice contact with them. It is a little bit more difficult to locate them if they're not able to give us an exact location of where they are. But it works pretty well.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
All right? Thank you.
I was going to say, Sarah, I got a couple for myself. I didn't realize that texting was even possible. I guess there's no other, you just text 911 and it goes through,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes.
And then when the power outage we had, you said we go through Lyon County. Can you describe how that works exactly?
So it's done on the backside of our phone system. It's an automatic transfer. If we don't answer the phone call within, I want to say 90 seconds, then it's automatically transferred to Lyon County, and they will pick it up, or they will, if they are busy, it just simply gets put back into the queue and gets sent back to us.
That's great. And then congratulations on the national standards that Franklin County doing better than. So congratulations to you on that. I just figured up it's about 160 calls a day on average.
Mhm.
It looks like that's just incredible. So God bless you for all your hard work you do. So keep up the good work, and we're proud of you. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Good job.
We'll go on to, what is this now, be 11B?
Recommendation by Neighborhood Revitalization Program Review Committee to add properties to the program.
The committee has reviewed and recommends approval to add 28 residential and 1 commercial structure to the program. The properties are within the established neighborhood revitalization district and meet the criteria to be eligible for the full rebate. And is Ashley here? There she is. Ashley?
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. I bring forth to 28 residential structures and 1 commercial property. It's recommended that the City Commission review, comment, and consider approving the recommended 28 residential properties and 1 commercial property to the Neighborhood Revitalization Program. The purpose of the NRP program is to promote community improvement, development, and rehabilitation to enhance the safety, public health, and welfare of Ottawa's residents. The program may be utilized to make improvements to the exterior or the interior of the property structures. The NRP was created in 1997 with agreements between the City of Ottawa, Franklin County, and USD 290. When the review board was created, with each entity appointing, created a member from each board. So with the City Commission, we have Sarah Kaler, USD 290 board member Harold Wingert, and Franklin County Commissioner Rod Harris. On the next slide, I did put the new addresses that are going to be, that have applied for the NRP program. Do you want me to go through each one of those, or?
We can kind of see all those, that's good enough.
Okay, so they would be eligible for the full 95% for the 10 years. On the next slide, I do have the list of the remodel addresses, which would be 95% for the 5 years. And then the commercial address, we have the one, which would be the steps down from the 50 to the 40 each year, so. The financial considerations, this is the city's portion that I calculated out. So the residential projects of that tax rebate amount per year for years 1 through 5 is estimated to be $18,678 and $14,437 a year for the next, from years 6 through 10. The difference is because of the difference from the remodel and the new. And then the commercial over the 10 years is about $11,888. And then the recommendation, we recommend that the City Commission deliberates the NRP program and accepts these into the program, or move it on to the next meeting for review.
Excellent. Anything else?
No, that's it.
I
Sorry.
will have- yep. I'm sure Sarah would always like to do this work, and I know she's done this for many, many years. I don't know if you want anything to add to this, or what's your?
No, I do, yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate you yielding to me. I really want to thank Ashley, really, she does a really great job of preparing everything, and this was a large list of properties that we reviewed in the middle of December, and it's an exciting problem to have when we have so many properties that we are reviewing, but certainly know that this is really meant to be that it helps bring the whole neighborhood up. When you bring one house up, you bring the whole neighborhood up. And so I love this program. And if, unless anybody else has comments, I certainly will, I will yield to anybody else has comments. And if no one else has comments, I would make a motion to approve.
And motion's been made. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, for full disclosure, I am a contractor on a couple of these projects, but whether they're approved or not, the financial benefit I have is nil, so.
Very good. Okay, thank you, Commissioner.
I as well, I'm an owner of one of these properties, so my vote will not be a vote on 1004 South Willow,
Okay. We'll exclude that one.
if you can.
For the motion. Very good.
I'll second.
There's a second on that. Any other discussion on this?
Ashley, do you know on these where we have the estimated increase on like a new build, is the NRP basically what they get back, all of that based on the estimate of the increase, or is it on the first appraisal, once the structure is completed, what the true increase is?
It is off the true increase. So
Okay.
once it's increased, I will get that, the appraisal back from the county, the official appraisal, and then that's what it's based off of.
Okay. And over these ones for like 10 years, is it locked at year one value, or is it still that 95% every year if the valuation goes up?
It's 95% of the value increase each year.
Each year, okay.
Mhm.
Good question.
Yeah, that's great. Any other comments or questions? I just want to say too, as I drive around town and I'll see an improvement on a house that's been needed much needed repair, and I know it's in our district, and it's just a great thing. Just feels good to drive by and see that, and know that somebody's fixing it up, whether to resell or rent or whatever it might be. It's just a great program, and I'm glad we've been in it for so many years, and it's been a real plus and added. And we're not giving up that much. We're getting the long-term benefit of the tax income off of it years and years later, and we know. So it's a good program, it really is. I think if there's no other comments, we're ready for a roll call vote, please.
How do you vote, Mayor Pro Tem Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Clayton?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaler?
Yes.
Commissioner Crowley?
Yes.
And Mayor Skidmore?
And I vote yes. And then let's go back to the one that was excluded, if we could. Is there a motion to approve that one?
So
Without-
moved.
So moved over here.
Second.
And a second. Any other discussion on that one? If not, we'll take roll call on that one too, please.
How do you vote, Mayor Pro Tem Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Clayton is abstaining. Commissioner Kaler?
Yes.
Commissioner Crowley?
Yes.
And Mayor Skidmore?
And I vote yes too. That all those motions carry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ashley, you did a good job. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
that. Next item. Guess we're going to review the monthly reports submitted by the partner agencies. I guess Franklin County Development Council's Paul is not here. Is that right? He was absent, so we've got a lot of library out of Main Street and Prairie Paws Animal Shelter. Do you want to make presentations, each of you, or do you want to just take questions? How would you prefer to do that?
I just take questions.
Take questions? Okay. Do we want to go ahead?
Want to highlight from anybody? Oh, looks like so.
There we go. Okay, Sarah, come on up.
I would just like to give an update. We, as the have done a board retreat, we are making ground for this next year, and I have also accepted the director position. That's all I have.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay. And Ottawa Library, you want to have any comments, or you want to just take questions, or come on up? Terry?
I just want to remind you guys that we have O-Town Reads going on right now. So if you have not picked up our book, The 100 Years of Lenny and Margot, please come by the library and do that. And I also would like to hand out some of our programming that's coming up.
Sure.
Thank you.
Terry, before you go, tell me, I've always been curious, what do you do with the books after? I mean, if somebody brings them back, they bring back the one about, in conjunction with Wizard of Oz. I think that was the one from last year. Maybe
Yes.
I'm not wrong. But,
Yeah.
I mean, what do you do with those?
So if they bring them back, we have a shelf back in the circ area, and people come in all the time and ask us what our previous O-Town Reads books were, and we hand them the stack, and they can pick and take them. And our friends, if they get any in, will bring them to us to do that with.
Okay. So you just really still keep them out in the community?
We
for-
do.
Good.
Yes.
That's awesome. And approximately how many books do you disseminate out into the community?
500 to 800,
That's awesome.
yeah,
That is awesome.
Yeah.
What a great program. Good job.
thank you.
Including some in large print, right?
Yes, we have some in large print this year,
If you're so inclined.
yes.
Okay. Thanks. Anybody have more questions? I've got a couple for Vanessa when we're ready to talk about Prairie Paws. Real simple questions here.
Just simple ones.
Simple ones. Well, first of all, I want to say the bottom line I saw at the end of 2023 was very impressive.
It was.
Congratulations on that. First of all, I've never seen a number that big, 6 figures like that, 343,000.
I was accused of a typo.
Oh, wow.
It's not a typo,
Okay, I
but
thought
it was
scared me.
accused as being a
That's
typo.
exciting, yeah, okay, that's just it.
Yeah.
I was just curious, with that kind of cash, do you have some plans for that, or are you just planning to carry it into next year, or what's your plans, you know?
Yeah, it's actually a continuing grant that we've been getting every year for the last couple of years, and it's mostly for facility upgrades. So you would think that we were done upgrading, and we're not, but we were issued more funding to continue to upgrade the facility. So a lot more kind of physical construction going on out there, which was fun. But it's for Franklin County, so obviously we have the Manhattan location now. All of this grant is for Franklin County, which is exciting, except for one thing we were able to buy that we could share, which is a brand new vehicle. So we bought that from Bob Allen, and we've got it on site. It's really exciting. So that vehicle will go between Ottawa and Manhattan.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
While you're speaking about Manhattan, tell us how that relationship's going. It's early on, but how's it going so far?
It's going great, except a 25-year-old water heater broke on the 18th day of our lease. We had to replace it. So how unlucky are we?
Yeah.
But it's fine. You know, the city was a great partner in that. They recognized that, well, that was not expected, and so they helped us pay to replace that because it's a city-owned building. So, yeah, going really good. We're about to do our first monthly report for Manhattan, so kind of same thing that we do here, but we'll be doing it out there. We got our first payment from them, so it's all kind of rolling along. Got the staff fully outfitted in uniforms, and they're doing their first low-cost spay-neuter clinic next week or the week after. Yeah, week after that,
Okay.
Valentine's Day. Yeah.
That's why I was asking about the spay and neuter, and I noticed in 2023, it was about 87,000. Was it in 2022, it was about 16,000. Do you have a compensating credit to match those expenses, or how does that work?
Yeah, there's a line item for the expense, and then there's a line item for the revenue. And I think year end last year, it was about $3,500 positive. So
Okay.
it does run slightly in the positive, but we just kind of run that program. We try to be as revenue neutral as we can on that. So we then use that extra balance to then allow people to pay less than low cost. So we do offer it for free to some residents of Franklin County who really need that help.
Well, I was going to say a lot more spays and neutering going on last year, so I'm just glad to see that to reduce our unwanted population. So
Yes.
thank you for doing that. So good job on that. Anybody have any more questions for Vanessa?
And it's not from 2023, but this weekend, I saw some pictures of a pretty substantial line. So do you have any rough numbers on how many?
We did
You guys did this?
117 free vaccines and free microchips in about 2.5 hours. We were exhausted. At the end of that, we were a bit rattled. 117 was great, mostly from Franklin County, but some people drove from many counties away to take advantage of those free vaccines and free microchips. So we're excited. And this Friday, we're going to get a custom tag engraving machine so people can come to Prairie Paws and get custom dog tags made. Because we need to improve that reclaim rate, which is kind of in the toilet right now. So need to get more pets reclaimed. So custom tags will be available hopefully as soon as Friday.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I don't have a question, but I did have a conversation with the city attorney from Manhattan, and they are very excited about having you there, and they are happy about the partnership. And we did talk about how smart it was for Franklin County and for Riley County to work together and just work smarter together. So I know that Riley County and the city of Manhattan in particular is excited about having you. So,
Great.
good job.
And we just got Pottawatomie County as well.
Great.
So, yeah, we now have 3 counties that we serve. So. Yeah.
Okay, anybody else? Anybody have any Australian jokes?
Nope. Okay. I know you've got your one.
We'll let you off. Okay.
Yeah, I've heard you're one.
He needs to dig deeper.
That's a boomerang. It'll come back to me.
Good job, sir.
All right, good.
Good job.
We'll go on to item D, the review of the quarterly reports submitted by city departments. And so there's a lot of information here, so we want to start with, how about Commissioner Clayton?
I can do that. Well, this will be good, then I get to beat you to the interest when we talk about
Oh,
that.
help yourself.
Even though you already
Sure.
did. I guess I'll just kind of work page numbers kind of down through the line. Hitting that, community development. I just want to shout out, looking at the numbers, it looks between remodels and new over the last 2 years, $30 million in valuation, improvements to homes, new builds and stuff like that in Ottawa, which I think's amazing. We talk about growth and building and expanding the tax base and all of those benefits that come along that. I did have a question for probably Lucas on 158, what POSA stands for. There was a talk of a meeting, and I wasn't sure what that acronym was. It's about 930 South Lincoln, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, okay, so, thank you for that clarification. I printed out my written report rather than, I'm not gonna try to figure out what I'm missing. So 930 Lincoln, we had a situation where there was a real problem in a residence there. And so we worked together with fire, and fire had actually raised the issue. They had gone out on a call and said, we can't have people in our community living in these conditions. So they raised the issue. It was my department, police, public works, utilities. We had the group around the table to make sure we weren't missing some piece of it. I apologize. We use the acronym POSA, and I need to get smarter about what exactly that means, or what exactly it stands for. But it's really this idea that we're going to make sure that we're looking at things holistically, not just some code violations, but how it all fits together. And are we seeing a lot of police calls in a neighborhood? How can we use all of our resources together to make more progress together?
Okay. And then on that, I guess, I don't know if you'd have any answers to the some GIS stuff. On that, I think that's great that we're talking about it. I think it's something that's really been needed, some improvements on that. Do we have a relationship, or what is the relationship like in terms of kind of GIS with the county? With them having a cartographer and, a lot of those parcel maps, do we share data with them, or are we kind of siloed separate from them on a lot of that?
We obviously have access to the parcel data that they have on their website, but it is fairly siloed, and I think where we want to go with that, it would probably remain siloed, right? Because we want to be able to say, and we do to some degree, what's all our utilities equipment that's out there? Well, that's not something that we want the county to host for us. We have to have control of that data. What street improvements have we made, and where? Eventually integrating even police, going back to bringing all of these assets together, having it in one database that we can use to begin to make smarter decisions and smarter recommendations for the commission.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll scroll past, but I'll give a quick shout out to Rebecca for the income interest. I know Mayor Skidmore, I'm sure we'll hit on it more in a minute, so I will let him have his thunder there. On page 180, just want to say it's exciting for the police department that we have 2 officers graduating KLETC. It looks like in February, so I'm sure you guys are excited to have them here as well on the road. And then water reclamation. A question / request, I guess I would say.
What page you on here?
194.
194, right? Oh, that's right.
On that quarterly report that shows everything, maybe for this year, one ask I would have is a key. Because I think there's a lot, I'm assuming total flow is millions of gallons, the MG there.
Correct.
And then down below, I'm assuming, is that milligrams a liter for some of those other things?
Correct, yes.
Okay, on that. And so I think it's just amazing, it's odd to think about wastewater, probably not for you, obviously you do it every day. But amazing to see that, our plant has gone through 403 million gallons. And then down below, it's not as pleasant, but 1,500 tons.
Yep.
And so, I think that when we pay that on our bill each month, I always am grateful for the fact that I don't have to deal with any of that. And so I think these numbers are just kind of staggering when you really think about it. And so just shout out to you guys for the work you guys do and keeping that plant running, because I know we all appreciate it. So.
Thank you. Kudos to the guys down there.
Yeah, thank you. And that is all I have.
Good. Okay, good. Commissioner Kaler, you want to go next?
Yes, I'm happy to go next. Now I got to figure out how I can figure out where my bookmarks are. Oh, there they are. Okay, great. Question for fire department, and it's just really a clarification. I appreciate that you put public education on there, Sean. Thank you. Or I'm sorry, Chief Dillon, and Allie's dad. Let's just be honest. Yeah, exactly. Chloe's dad, Laney's dad. Okay, now we've got them all in. But I noticed that you put on there, and this is, pardon me for not giving you, it's 172. You're not going to probably need to look. But you put on there some really great public education that that citizens may not think about. Fire safety, obviously you're giving that to kids, but you're also providing that to adults. So tell me about where you're providing fire safety to adults and where are you reaching those citizens?
So Lieutenant Wilson, he's kind of the head of all of our public safety education and everything. We reach out to like Sunflower Plaza. I mean, we go from kindergarten, before kindergarten, but
Preschool?
yeah, we're in the schools for the whole month of October. We cover all ages.
The
so,
whole age span?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So-
he's been going through a lot of programs himself, learning how to build that whole platform better.
So if there is a group or individuals that are saying like, hey, we could really use some fire safety training or some fire safety education, it's just really reaching out to the fire department and requesting it?
Correct. They could call the station anytime, and I believe we've been updating the website on our side as well. There's some features in there where they can submit a request, and Lieutenant Wilson would get back with them that way as well.
All right, please
So they don't
tell-
even have to call, they can just email.
Great. So it also looks like you offer, and I know personally, I mean, you offer help with changing batteries and smoke alarms, and you will install smoke alarms. You will give station tours. You assist with making sure that car seats are put in correctly. And
Correct.
Are there other assets or other aspects of car seats that you'd like to highlight? Do you have car seats for individuals who may be economically challenged?
We do. Ourselves and the police department both offer the same service. Anybody can call. We have trained technicians that's gone through a class. They have to do so many installs a year. They'll recertify in, I believe, 2 years, or they have like a 2-year window. And basically, I did this a long time ago. It was different. We installed it for them. We showed them how to do it. Now it's more of here's a little bit of a class. We'll show you, then you do it.
Good.
So they get the hands-on skill part of it.
You're kind of training the trainers.
Yep.
Good. And then can you tell me what YFPI stands for? Is it Young Firefighter?
Oh, so that would be like the Youth Fire Setters program.
Okay.
So we offer that as well. We have a couple trained individuals that if we have somebody playing with matches or something like that, they'll have little sessions with them and teach them a little bit more about fire safety.
Great. Thank you for explaining that, and I appreciate this slide, and something that I probably haven't brought up before, but I'm sure everybody else here has probably noticed it, but thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Not a problem.
On the IT department, I know, which is page 179, I know that in the past, we have seen a slide, or at least some documentation on the number of hours that individuals have been interacting with some of our social media. Rough, Paul, and you don't have to have a followed number. I just always enjoyed seeing that number.
Yeah, I mean, it just spikes anytime there's activity around the city. It goes up quite a bit. We're still formulating these quarterly reports, kind of what the best data is. I think that's very interesting as well. I always track your commission meetings even to see what, like ratings week, how things are going and see how they're holding up. But I'll try to put some of that in so you can get some visibility there because I like that data as well.
Okay. Thank you, and it's all right if you want. My family was a Nielsen family literally way back when they would send us a box, and, and so I always am like, ooh, the statistics on that. So that was kind of fun. But thank you for that report, and I think it's good to know that individuals are getting news from us and utilizing our social media to as an avenue to get information.
Yep.
So we want to make sure that we can give them as much current and correct information as we can give them.
Sure.
All right, thanks, Paul.
Thanks.
And then Dan, on page 195, and this is really a PSA opportunity for you. It says that the pictures are great, but the little line at the bottom, 195, Commissioners, it says pulling pumps is a common occurrence at the Water Reclamation Facility, WRF. With the rise of flushable wipes, the crew has had plenty of experience. So if a citizen is watching this and they purchase flushable wipes, what would you say to a citizen who may see that as an alternative to using toilet paper?
Please don't. Flushable wipes are a bit of a misnomer. They are not flushable. They do not disintegrate. They clog, and frankly, homeowners doing that are running a fairly solid risk of plugging their own plumbing. It's not just that it's going to plug a
Right.
pump in a lift station or plug something at the wastewater plant. It's they could cause some damage in their own homes. And there's been a couple of really astronomically large class action lawsuits against the manufacturers of those, and yet I won't mention the name, but the big box store that every town has, it's mostly blue on the outside, has their own brand of those that are simply called flushable wipes. People just don't get it. But yeah, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity for that.
So you're going to discourage citizens from utilizing those
Absolutely.
unless absolutely necessary?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Thanks.
Yes, and that is the end of my.
Okay, very good. Mr. Kaler, Commissioner Crawley.
I just have one question, and it'll be for Director Neese. On packet page 156, it's the first page of your report. It's under your budget status heading. It mentions that you have an invoice from GBA for November for $10,109.68. And it continues on and says that that's less than the monthly cost of benefits and that a full-time employee would actually make. I don't know what a full-time plan reviewer would make. Are we close to what a full-time plan reviewer would make? And the reason I'm asking that is because if November was a slow month, if we get into busier times, are we going to exceed what maybe that person would be being paid monthly? Do we need to be looking that direction, or are we pretty good with GBA?
So on November, we would be, it's not far off. December, I think our invoice was $3,000. So I'm just on the fiscal impact, I'm comfortable kind of letting that run out and see if we're saving money. Saving money isn't the only reason that we are opting to work with GBA rather than hiring that position. GBA is a whole team of folks that are able to be responsive to us. I have been very impressed with their ability to respond to questions, to do that in a very courteous manner and to work with the public as well. Certainly, if the cost exceeded the cost of adding that staff person, we'd have to reconsider that. I'm not sure what my recommendation would be. I have been very impressed with GBA and the fact that they bring a suite of tools to us instead of just having the skills of one person.
And don't get me wrong, early on, and in any transition, there were some hiccups and some concerns from some of the contractors out on the job sites, but I've heard none recently. I think that once everybody kind of got aware of how we were moving forward, things kind of started to move more smoothly, and they understand the process now, and everybody understands the process. My only concern was if November was a slow month. And we get into a early spring, summertime when business is booming, hopefully like it has been the last few years, are we doubling what a full-time employee would make? And at that point, really, where's the benefit? It's kind of an open-ended question, quite honestly.
And that would be again having a conversation about does having that team of folks at our call have value beyond the salary. I also think, and I'd have, I think November included Hasty Hall, so that was a large, and that is, the cost of that permit gets close to the cost of that service then as well, but we will certainly continue to monitor it and include that in any recommendation we would make.
Certainly something I'd be interested in seeing as we move forward through the year. So
I appreciate that.
Great, thank you. And that's all I have.
Very good.
Can I follow up on the GBA? I do have And I so appreciate what Commissioner Crowley was asking about and the questions that you were asking, but for those individuals who are not in the building trades,
Yeah.
it may not be super clear on
Sorry.
what GBA is and what the process we were just talking about. So can you give us a
So,
little bit of detail on that?
GBA, sorry for interrupting you.
No.
GBA is George Butler and Associates. They are, one of their primary offices is in Lenexa. They do all sorts of things. They design roads and all of the municipal services kinds of things. We have contracted with them to do plan review for us. We have also contracted for them to be available on call for inspections. When our inspector, is on vacation or sick or something, we've taken advantage of that opportunity once, or for a week. And again, we have, there's 4 folks that we have a lot of contact with there. So not one person with one expertise, but 4 folks that have, one of their primary plan reviewers, I think, has 30 years of experience. The engineer has, I would, probably 10 years. Great team, and really glad to be able to build that relationship. And they've been really valuable and generous with their time towards our building inspector as well, in helping him to improve. He's fantastic. I want to start there. He's new to building inspection, newer now. He's got 9 months under the belt. So, but their willingness to continue to invest in him as well is something I really appreciate.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Pro Tem Allen.
Several of the things I had have already been touched upon. I do want to say that I am excited that we have some KLETC grads coming up, because I know that it is a hot minute by the time they get graduated to the time that they're free on their own. That is a while, so good to get them in and started. And then the only other comment I had was that I just really appreciate the pictures in here, because after going through 222 pages, it's not saying it's a lot, like it's perfect, but the pictures are kind of nice to throw in a little pizzazz there, so thank you for that. And also, I'm a very visual person, so seeing some of the new equipment we've purchased really does help you understand where the money goes, so I appreciate that.
Very good. Just to add to it, on the education, I think on the fire and police, I think that's critical. I think in the Kansas City region, there was recently a house fire, and a child died in the fire. And I know some things that a lot of people don't realize is how important it is to have a meeting place. If there's a fire and some get out, there's a meeting place so the parents know all the kids are out, because I don't know if there was a meeting place and they didn't know, and anyway, the child died. I hate the thought of that. As a parent, you see the fire, your house go up and a child's still inside, but having that meeting place is very critical for all people in education, so I think it's important to let everybody know. And also, I had opportunity, I think I mentioned earlier, about subbing at Garfield School, and I saw our police department there with DARE training, so it's good to see and keeping the guys out there and doing that. I think it's important to keep that in front of everybody. I think people, hopefully the first time they meet a police officer is in a professional manner, not in a professional manner, but more of an educational stream, and I think it's important to keep them going that way. So I guess they're getting all the schools and everybody out there at them, so that's great to see that. I appreciate that. On the IT videos, I see we've got a new cartoon character getting out some public announcements, so that's good to see that, guys. I guess Pedro's still retired, or Carlos. Okay, he's still,
Franklin.
Carlos retired, okay. So maybe pull Carlos out of retirement someday. But anyway, and then I guess, I appreciate you talking about the flushable wipes. I did see that too. I'm a bit chagrined that we're even talking about it, but I think it's important that people know not to use them. And I don't know if we need a public service announcement along with that, and or if we put some on the utility bills to let people know. I don't know if we can come up with some idea to inform the public, because this will be a continual problem and an expensive problem to us too, as long as they keep going and changing the pumps out like that. And when the advertising package says one thing and it's not true, we got to correct them. So I think whatever we can do to educate, that'd be important to do. On the finance department, I didn't really have a whole lot more to add. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. I just think it's a great thing we've got going on. I think with our windfall, have we discussed within the department what we want to do with that windfall? Is this something we're just going right into the main budget, or where we? Okay, well, Melanie's going to address that. And it's a wonderful windfall, I might add.
So we've had basic conversations about that. We have not made any transfers yet. My recommendation is probably going to be to our city manager at the end of our period where we pay all of our 23 expenses, which is coming up at the end of this week and maybe into the beginning of this next week. But once we know exactly where we stand, likely those dollars or a portion of those dollars for the active funds that are your utility funds, your general funds, some of your more active operating funds will probably go into some sort of a reserve fund so they can be used for equipment replacement, future improvement projects, things like that. But it would be specific to the fund that accrued that interest, not just to one lump sum into one general fund that we could just pull from. We would want to then program out where those dollars are going to be spent. So as of right now, that's probably what my recommendation is going to be. I want to wait and see where we land total dollar-wise, total budget opportunity for transfers, that kind of thing. So
good, thank you. All right, appreciate that. While we were talking, any other discussions or any other questions anybody have while we were proceeding with that? We're good? Well, thank you all for your excellent work on the reports. It's a lot of reading there to do, but it's very important information as well. So thank you for putting it together for us to review and see where we're heading. So it's good news.
Mayor, I would,
Yeah.
on that, sorry.
Yes.
I don't know if we have this at the end. I was just going to ask if Sean or Chief Weingartner or anyone would have kind of an update on the situation yesterday with the gas.
Yeah.
The gas break and kind of the shutting down and door-to-door stuff, kind of everything that went on, if there was any incidents or injuries or anything that resulted from that.
Good question.
Yeah, so no injuries. There was a gas line that was hit. It was a 2-inch line. It occurred during boring activities for, I believe, fiber. It's kind of been we've had several calls so far, but just the way this one transpired, the wind conditions and all that kind of stuff, as a precaution, we evacuated a couple blocks. After the incident, after they had it all clamped off, we went back in with our gas monitors and verified that there was nothing lingering in the homes before we sent people back in. I don't know if there's anything else.
No, I think that's great. I mean, just the fact that we went door to door, I think was awesome.
Yeah,
being that there might be folks who would not get the information, depending on how it was kind of sent out. I know it went over no radio, and I think there was a lot of modalities that I wasn't aware that we could get kind of emergency information out. So I think that was.
Yeah, there's another acronym that we use that's IPAWS. I have it in the press release, but I can't remember it off the top of my head right now. But we set that one off just as a precaution as well. It's a national, and you can set it up regionally. Like our emergency manager did it. He can pull up a square. Some people probably still received it because depending on, I heard over the radio that Anderson County was receiving it, but if they have a Anderson County phone number, that's probably why. But it was a good effort between everybody. PD helped with going door to door and blocking roads and everything, so it worked out well.
Yeah. Thank you.
It got bigger than what they thought it was going to. And
yeah.
On
once
the
they started
evacuation,
digging.
get a quick question. So where did people go and how were they notified it was all clear then?
So we contacted COFO right away to put something out on the radio. It was a recommendation that they turn to COFO and listen to the radio for that. We also put it out on social media. We did have some callers, but I think between all those different efforts, they were notified.
Okay. So a boring activity suddenly didn't become boring after a while. So,
No, and it hasn't
okay.
as of recently. So.
Okay, good news. Appreciate that. Yep. Okay, any other questions? I think Brian is on Zoom. Brian, you got any comments by the city manager?
Just a couple items, which you had touched on one already, which is the gas leak response. And I wanted to thank both of our chiefs for their department's response to the situation, and that I think it shows good partnership and also dovetails nicely with the code discussion in that codes and utility locates and fire prevention and fire response go hand in hand, and that we can't have one without the other because we have limited resources. And I like to use the example that our entire fire department in its totality is still less than what the city of Wichita would respond to a residential house fire. So it's important that we utilize all of these resources effectively to minimize the potential for causing an incident, as well as from stressing our first responders, and also preventing a needless risk of life safety in that process as well. Also, with that, I wanted to say thank you for bringing up the POSA and our integration of all of our resources to try and target an area and apply as much resources and look at it from a 360-degree approach to trying to remedy a situation and problem in an area. With that, so part and parcel to that, I think our folks go above and beyond, and I wanted to highlight, in fact, just today in the 700 block of South Cypress, I had directors Neese and Hafley, along with Public Works employees Ian Butel and Angelo Martin, responded to pick up trash and debris that, had we followed the traditional nuisance abatement process of notifying the property owner to mitigate the problem, the debris would have just been blown throughout the neighborhood and across town. And so it was quicker just to respond and remove the situation to prevent it from spreading to neighboring properties because of how it was present. So I just wanted to say thank you to them for going above and beyond and taking aggressive action to help make our little corner of the world a little bit brighter. So with that, I'll turn it over to the commission now.
Okay, thank you, Brian. We'll go to commissioner comments. We'll start with Commissioner Crowley this time.
I have none.
Okay. Pro Tem Allen?
I have no comment.
Okay. Commissioner Kaler?
I did want to bring up just a small point, and I actually am going to do my best to bring this up the entire time that the Kansas legislature is actually in session. I know that individuals, and myself included, I can't imagine that anybody up here is not super excited about their property tax bill. But the Kansas legislature over 20 years ago took away a major source of revenue sharing called LAVTR. And LAVTR, if it were put back into place, the Kansas legislature has continued to keep that and put that in the general fund. And if citizens who are savvy realize that there's a large overage in their fund right now, if they were to return that back to municipalities and to counties, both of us, we could lower our mill tremendously. And when I say that, I don't want to give an amount but I mean, I'm talking like 6, 7, 8 mills that we could reduce our mill levy. Just if they would just share what they had promised and what is constitutionally in our Kansas Constitution that says they must share with us, that they've not done for over 20 years. And so when you're upset and you are looking at your property tax bill, remember that the Kansas legislature continues to retain stuff that constitutionally is supposed to be given to municipalities and to counties in LAVTR. That's it.
Good deal. Good. Commissioner Clayton?
Yeah, I as well will follow that. Last week we were able to go to Topeka for Local Government Day. Sat through a legislative panel. So that was really cool. Kind kind of hearing the consensus from other city leaders, county leaders across the state, and issues like LAVTR that were brought up and really talked about a lot at the state level, and just that local voices are definitely key to things like that. Remembering that while you might seem small and your voice doesn't really matter, but reaching out to your constituents and people you are able to is really the best avenue to get those funds back to town. Reaching out to anyone from your local level all the way up to the state level is the best avenue for that. And there's a lot of great information online through different resources about things that are kind of sitting in the Kansas House and Senate. You know, there's a lot of stuff being talked about with appraisals and valuations and taxes, as those are obviously a hot button issue with the last few years. And so with that and LAVTR, it's definitely on the mind of the state. So I as well will just, you know, reiterate that reaching out to those folks, shooting emails, I will say they likely respond better to honey than they do to being the bee. So reach out, express your voice, but remember that you're speaking to the people who are hopefully advocating for you. So really try to do that. And then again, I mention it every time we have these quarterly reports. I think they're amazing. There's so much information. You know, you joke around, but I think they're a great read for us as well as people. And I've had people stop me and say that they noticed something in it. And so I'm always impressed when I know that people are actually kind of going through and reading those. So your guys' hard work as staff is definitely worth the hours that you guys put into that, and I think the people appreciate it. So.
Good. I just want to add that LAVTR, that's something Commissioner Kaler's been working on for a long time, having an influence on the LKM, having chaired the LKM 2 years ago, and so I know she's been working on this for a long time, and so I really think, though, eventually they have listened to her and the others on the board, and we're getting that money back, and I agree that will make a big difference on our budget this coming next year. I don't know how soon we can get it, but that'd be wonderful work. So thank you for all your work on that. I know the whole state of Kansas thanks you for that too, Commissioner Kaler. So good work on that. Keep it up. So I will say that, absolutely. Chamber Banquet was last Thursday. There was great turnout for that. A lot of people won some great awards, so I just want to say congratulations to each of them. Also, the free limb pickup started, I believe, on Monday, did it not? And we're going through, anybody know how long we'll be doing the limb pickup? Oh, Mr. Hayflake, come on up. After the recent snowstorm, we've got a lot of limbs down, so people are putting them on the curbs.
Yeah, we'll make at least one pass through town. How long that'll take, I don't know, but once we've made a pass through town, we'll probably do a PSA, public service announcement, that if you still have limbs, please put them out by the curb and let us know your address and we'll come by and get them.
Fantastic.
Still. So anyway, how long it's going to take, I don't know, maybe a week or two, but the guys are working at it. So.
Fantastic. Good. Make sure you're working on that too. So go over the announcements here. We just have our February 7th commission meeting at 7 p.m. here at City Hall, then February 14th. That date sounds familiar. What is that? Oh, yeah, Valentine's Day, right? By the way, they do not make belated Valentine's Day cards. Anybody's wondering, they don't make them. So anyway, what's the point, right? So February 14th, put that on your calendar. If there's nothing else to come before the city commission meeting today, we